For millennia, the story of early European civilization was one of isolated, nomadic groups, simple hunter-gatherers living in a world before cities. But then, in the vast forest steppes of Eastern Europe, archaeologists began to unearth something that rewrote the script entirely. They found the ruins of a culture so advanced, so complex, that it challenges everything we thought we knew about the dawn of urban life. And at the heart of their story lies a profound, breathtaking mystery. Why did they repeatedly burn their own homes to the ground? This is the Cucuteni-Trypillia culture, a society that flourished between 5050 and 2950 BCE, long before the pyramids of Egypt or the cities of Sumer. They were a people who built the largest settlements on Earth at the time, some housing tens of thousands of people, complete with central squares and embankments, true proto-cities that were a marvel of human ingenuity. They were skilled farmers, cultivating wheat and barley. They were master artisans, creating intricate, colorful pottery and exquisite copper jewelry. Their buildings, reinforced with wood and clay, were multi-storied and massive, with one public structure measuring over 1,200 square meters. And yet, every 60 to 80 years, these meticulously planned and laboriously built communities were completely incinerated. This phenomenon, known to archaeologists as the burned house horizon, is one of history's most baffling puzzles. For decades, the logical assumption was that these were accidents, wildfires, lightning strikes, or perhaps the ravages of war. But this theory doesn't hold up to scrutiny. The archaeological record shows a complete lack of human remains that would suggest combat, and no defensive weapons have ever been found at these sites. More importantly, modern experiments with life-size reconstructions of these houses have shown that an accidental fire simply could not have produced the immense heat and vast quantities of vitrified clay rubble found at the actual sites. To achieve the level of destruction seen at these sites, the inhabitants would have had to deliberately use an enormous amount of fuel, the equivalent of 130 to 250 trees to burn a single building. This was not an accident. It was a deliberate, organized, and collective act. So why would they do this? Why would a society that invested so much in its homes repeatedly destroy them? The most prominent theory is that the burnings were a powerful, symbolic ritual. With very few cemeteries found, some archaeologists believe the home itself became a sort of tomb. The act of burning was a form of domicide, a planned and ceremonial end to the life of the house, in which people would sacrifice valuable objects along with their home to honor the deceased and their ancestral spirits. This powerful act of death and rebirth would have tied each new generation to the sacrifices of the last. It required an incredibly organized society, one capable of not only rebuilding but also of convincing its entire population to dedicate themselves to this immense and costly ritual. But a more recent and chilling hypothesis has emerged from the cutting edge of paleogenetics. The discovery of Yersinia pestis, the plague bacterium, in ancient mass burial sites in Europe has led some scholars to propose a darker, more pragmatic explanation. Could the Cucuteni-Trypillia people have discovered through devastating experience that a high-intensity fire was the only way to halt the spread of a recurring epidemic? The act of burning the settlement would have sterilized the bacteria and their hosts, effectively containing the disease. This theory transforms the ritual from a purely symbolic act into one of desperate collective survival. The most compelling answer may be a synthesis of both. Perhaps what began as a pragmatic survival strategy became, over 1,600 years, a powerful, sacred ritual, a shared memory of what had to be done to protect the community. The Cucuteni-Trypillia culture is a window into an alternative path of human history. Their egalitarian proto-cities challenge the idea that urbanism must be tied to social inequality, and their ritual of fire and rebuilding shows us how a society's deepest beliefs can be forged in the crucible of both spirit and survival. Their story serves as a reminder that the past is not a static museum of dusty facts, but a living, breathing enigma waiting to be understood. A tale still written in the earth and unwritten in fire.